Hey, what's up you guys? So, in today's video I'm going to be going over the April 1st, 2015 ban list that was revealed a couple of days ago. If you're living under a rock and you haven't heard about it, there will be a link in the description where you can read it. And a lot of people have actually said they really want to hear my opinions on this list. So I figured I would go through and just sort of talk about it. This video might be really long or it might not. I'm recording it at like 1 something in the morning, so if I sound a little bit dead, that's why. But I'm going to try to give you very in-depth, or at least, reasonable discussion. So, as always, feel free to share your opinions in the comments once you finish watching the video, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more good Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. Alright, let's get started. So, we have Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos, Redox, Tidus, and Temple. Tempest and Tidal. They are all banned. So the Dragon Rulers are banned. Obviously, we kind of know why this happened. Little Dank Matter Dragon card. But it's unfortunate to see them go. I was one of those people who didn't really have a problem with them. And it kind of worries me that Konami did this because, they knew when they were making Dark Matter Dragon that this was going to be a problem. So it's like, why make Dark Matter Dragon knowing that it will require you banning 4 cards? Simply, sort of on the basis of Dark Matter Dragon has a crazy OTK with them, but otherwise they're pretty balanced cards. Like, each of the Dragon Rulers at 1 was fine, Infernoids and Fire Kings and Fire Fists could use Blaster, and like Mermels could use Tidal, and lots of decks could use Tempest, Ritual Beast, for example. And, loads of decks use Redox. And they were at 1, and now that a lot of decks have lost those cards, it just sort of feels a bit unfair, honestly, to a lot of decks. Just for 1 Xyz Dark Matter Dragon to be able to get released without being broken, when Konami knows they could have given it, it just could have been a better designed card. So I don't like seeing the Dragon Rulers go, and I know, some people have been hoping for these things to go for, I guess, years now, but I don't really know how much I really agree with it. I mean, it feels a little bit unfair. It feels a little bit like we're losing access to good cards because 1 badly designed card exists. Something else you'll also notice is that Chaos Emperor Dragon is still on this list despite other banned cards coming off, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. The only other thing that got banned is Snatch Steal. It probably needed to get banned again. It was just a little bit silly. I think Konami's kind of realized that monster stealing is something that's really delicate in Yu-Gi-Oh! And you just can't have the ability to just kind of take monsters for game. It's unfortunate, but it can't be that way. Believe it or not, I wasn't personally opposed to this card staying at 1. It never really bothered me. I never lost a whole lot of games to it because I noticed most people didn't really play it all that well. They would just play it the first turn and not really care. But I see where Snatch Steal can be annoying when you have an established board. And then you use Snatch Steal on your opponent's last thing, or situations like that. But I think the general consensus was, ban it again. And so it's probably fine that Konami did this because, monster stealing is just it's a touchy thing. So it's gone. I don't have many thoughts on this. It's just back to the way it was before it got limited. I guess you could say it was like a test run to see how it went. And it went not awfully, but not how Konami wanted, I suppose. So, limited cards. We've got quite a few of these. We'll start with, of course, Sinister Serpent. With the errata, all of the banned cards that got erratas are back except for Chaos Emperor Dragon. Which I'll talk about in just a second. But Sinister Serpent is at 1, and you need 2 Sinister Serpents to make that loop even happen. So 1 Sinister Serpent is virtually useless. I don't really see any applications for this card that are practical, so I suppose that's just that. And Tour Guide from the Underworld is also limited. This was an interesting choice. I assumed that because Tour Guide had already sort of been on the ban list and back again, that Konami wouldn't want to just put it back on the ban list at 1. But I guess that's what they thought was the most effective way to hit Burning Abyss. I've already talked to several Burning Abyss players, and a lot of them have told me that while it is a hit, you know, the deck can use Mathematician and sort of just replace that. But, you know, to be fair, Mathematician doesn't quite finish the job as well. I mean, Tour Guide negating the monster's effect ensured that the Burning Abyss monster never got destroyed when it was on the field. Whereas Mathematician pitching, you know, the special summoning one, I forget the name, means that, you know, the monster might special summon, but it'll still be destroyed because Mathematician's on the field, so I don't know exactly how that'll work. And some people are saying things like Crane as a late game substitute. But I do feel like Tour Guide from the Underworld going to 1 harms the deck in a meaningful way. I was personally hoping to see maybe Seer or Graf or Skarm, one of them, probably go to like 1 or 2, and possibly like Dante to 1. But, I guess this is reasonable. This, unfortunately to me, kind of means that Tour Guide likely won't ever be able to come off of 1 again. Unless the power creep gets really crazy and we're able to maybe put it to 2, but if no other Burning Abyss cards are to ever get hit, then Tour Guide is effectively stuck in this position on the ban list. So, I don't know. When you look at it from that perspective, this is really strange as opposed to something like Seer, Graf, or Dante going to 1. Because now it means we might never really see Tour Guide, at least not for a very long time. And it's unfortunate for those decks that use Tour Guide sort of in a more honest, modest way. Just as an engine and not as the backbone, but Konami. Alright, so Dragon Ravine's at 1 because all the Dragon Rollers are banned. Go figure. I think this card could have gone to 1 even with the Dragon Rollers at 1. But since, you know, Konami had to ban the Rulers to make 1 Broken Xyz not broken, Ravine's back. I mean, it's at 1, so it's like, I don't think Konami could have risked putting this at more than 1 just because, you know, multiple Ravines, I suppose, could have gotten nutty, but 1 Ravine at least means that the Jagrini players can finally play again, so fair enough. I don't know what this card really being at 1 means. I'm gonna just sort of skim over that. Preparation of Rites went to 1. I'm pretty happy to see this. It was, you know, there are any number of cards that could have hit in Necroz. Some people say they would have rather just seen like the Jin lock or Unicorn go to or Unicorn go to 1, or like, you know, the Jin get banned. But instead, Konami seems to have taken the just sort of slow down the obnoxious plussing approach, by hitting this and, you know, the other card, Reenact 2, but not quite there yet. So, I like this hit. I feel like they at least hit the spell that is the most profitable, because, you know, Preparation of Rites can be a +1, so it's not just a search, it's also like a search and then a recycle, and it becomes a plus. And that was huge, so it slightly weakens Necroz's, if you can call it a late game. Late game, so the plussing's not quite as obnoxious. Sinju and Manju are negatable monsters, so, you know, that's fair. I like this hit. It's a bit of a slowdown. You know, some people say it's not really going to affect them a whole lot, and they can use things like Gishki Chain and all that. But, you know, I think Konami, believe it or not, I trust Konami a little bit more than some people do. So I think that they knew what they were doing with this hit. I think it'll kind of cripple the overall sort of longevity of Necroz. Let's see. Sacrifice went to 1. It's very... Yeah, I mean, you know, I was surprised that they chose to hit Klee this way. Like, they hit them rather hard on this ban list, but I think that most people are celebrating. So more people are celebrating than lamenting, so I think, like, it's fine. Sacrifice was an annoying card. It just, the fact that it plussed no matter how it went to the grave, and it gave just the outlet to search so many cards, did feel a bit jaded. So, I don't mind seeing it go to 1. I feel like it's the kind of card that will probably come off the ban list within, like, you know, the next 2 years. But, yeah, it's there. What else can you say? Symbol of Heritage went to 1. This is for a few OTKs, things like Lone Fire Blossom, and some people say it's like a precursor to if Noden gets released, but I know that the immediate reasoning is probably like Lone Fire Blossom, because now that Lone Fire's at 3, you can cycle through 3 Lone Fires and then, you know, Symbol of Heritage it back and make some nutty plays. Konami can't have any of that. Temple of the Kings is back. I don't think this card's gonna like do anything wild, but there are some roguish decks that have found some cool uses. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's just one of those banned cards coming back to 1. Let's see. So Crush card is back. This is one of the more meaningful cards because even though it's nerfs and people are unhappy about the nerf, I'm not here to talk about whether or not I like the nerfs. I just think that Crush card actually does have a pretty valuable place in the meta because Burning Abyss can... My eyes hurt. See what I do for you guys. Burning Abyss can use Crush card virus, and the cool part about it is that it actually improves their Necroz matchup considerably if they draw it and if they resolve it. So, resolving, you know, a Crush card on turn 1, like if you go first and do, say, Tour Guide into something or whatever, get any kind of special in any kind of way, and you're able to tribute off that monster for Crush card and hit in a Necroz player's hand, you can potentially take out 3-4 ritual monsters, and that's huge. So, you know, it's a good card in that matchup. It's only 1 out of 40 cards. You probably won't see it turn 1, but on those games when you do, it's great. The games when you see it a bit later on, still a card, so. Let's see. Exchange of the Spirit. This card's not quite as, like, gimmicky anymore. It's, you know, apparently, like, if you use this with Fiend Comedian, you can, you know, create a little OTK or whatever, but that's inconsistent. Ring of Destruction's back. Kind of happy to see this back. It's a cool, I don't think it'll become quite staple, but it's kind of cool to just see the card back. Not a whole lot to say about it. Skill Drain went to 1, and Vanity's Emptiness. So these are kind of the more important cards because these are traps that actually, you know, people are wanting to see go on this list. Pretty happy to see Skill Drain on the list. It was getting a little bit out of hand, not just from Cleaforts, but just also the fact that there were 3 Skill Drains, and it's been a long debated card, and it isn't its first time on the ban list either. So, seeing it at 1 again, I have to understand why. It was just feeling a bit too good. And, Vanity's Emptiness, there's sort of a funny situation with this card. For the longest time, a lot of people complained about Vanity's Emptiness and said it was really broken. They didn't want to, you know, they wouldn't want it in the game. Whoever draws it first wins, blah, blah, blah. But now, a lot of people's reactions to Vanity's Emptiness going to 1 is that, oh, they shouldn't have done it. I miss it. Now there's no check on the meta. So it's kind of interesting, you know, players at first were opposed to the card, but then I think they realized that Vanity's Emptiness is, to some degree, a healthy check on the game, a healthy check on special summoning spam decks like Necroz, like Shadal's, potentially, you know, like things like that. So, Vanity's Emptiness going to 1, I figured it would happen. I figured when they made it that accessible in the Secret Forces that it just, you know, was on the way out. Skill Drain's the same way. It is kind of more a long time coming, really. But Vanity's Emptiness, I don't know. I feel like maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I would have been like, yes, like, you know, get rid of Emptiness, annoying card. Now I'm a little bit just sort of like neutral. I think that, again, this is one of those situations where least common denominator had to be sort of entertained, so they did it. That's the card a lot of people complain about, so Vanity is at 1. Interestingly, I think this card will become a staple now. I think that, like, literally every deck will just run a single copy of Vanities. Like a lot of limited traps, stapled limited traps, not like Infernity Beer or Gear. But, yeah, I'm thinking that, you know, a lot of decks will just run a single Vanities. Just every deck will, no matter what kind of deck it is. Unless it's like, you know, Quasar or something, I don't know. So, also it's kind of weird that, like, Wall of Revealing Light's still in the... I mean, anyway. Now's not the time for that. So, let's look at some of these cards that went to 2, because we have quite a few interesting new ones. Cleafort Scout. It's at 2. Fair enough. I mean, Sacrifice went to 1, this went to 2, and Cleaforts lost their Floodgates, so they are a very hammered deck. However, at locals just earlier today, I saw, Cleafort's still doing relatively well. They're just, it's not as, I hate to use this word again, just it's not as nutty as it sort of has been before. There aren't as many obnoxious searches now and just obnoxious plussing. It's, it's balanced. That's all I can really say. So, Cleafort Scout, there he is. Necroz of Brionac. So, believe it or not, if you want to go strictly by the number of, cards, sort of, Cleaforts and Necroz both lost the same amount of cards. They both had something put to 1, they both had something put to 2. But, Cleaforts also lost Floodgates. Anyways, Necroz of Brionac going to 2. I would have liked to see it go to 1. Or maybe, Unicorn go to 1. But Brionac to 2, I think Konami, they know what they're doing with this again. Because believe it or not, 2 Brionac and 3 Brionac, you could say, oh, it's no big deal, whatever. But, it's one less Brionac search. Oftentimes you won't actually be getting Brionac back, to your hand, really, so, not exactly, I know you can. But, so it's, I don't know, I feel like it's another one of those hits to Necroz's sort of longevity strategy. So now Necroz feels like they do have to kind of go a little bit more ham early on because they can't always just be playing this extended game. I do still think that they'll be, arguably the top deck right now, but it's just not a unbeatable tier 0 deck, depending on what your definition of tier 0 is, I know. Sheehan's at 2 again. This is neat. There's this exam player in my locals who's drowning himself in, never mind. Anyway, yeah, Sheehan's back at 2, and it's back at 2, I don't know. I mean, Sams aren't going to be, top tier, but they're a little bit better now. And, if you can make 2 Sheehan, by all means, make 2 Sheehan. You'll do pretty well against Necroz. Charted Light Brigade going into is really interesting to me. It seems like Konami is kind of just intent on letting these search cards just rock, Rhoda at 3, and now Charge of Light Brigade at 3, and we got Heretic Seal back and stuff like that. So, Charge at 2, cool, Lightsworms lost the Dragon Rulers, got charged back to 2. Was it a fair exchange? I'm gonna say no. I feel like, Charge could have gone at 3, really. I don't think it would have been a problem, but I know people will disagree with me, so I think it's safer than to go to 2. And Sacred Sword of the 7 Stars went to 2, which I think it could have just gone at 3. I mean, let's face it, if the Dragon Rulers are banned, there's nothing else that can truly abuse this card, so could have gone at 3. But I get the idea. They needed to play it safe. A load of things. A lot of things came off the list. Let's see. The baby dragon rulers are all off. There's nothing to say about them. I don't know why they're at 3. How are we supposed to use them? But ignoring them, we got Brother of the Firefist Spirit back. Very excited about this. I'm happy to see that 3 and 3.5 axis Firefist or whatever can finally really be a thing. They just didn't get much time at all in the limelight, so now they can finally play as the deck they're meant to be. And with Vanities also gone, it means that, the deck can probably succeed. Bestiary is finally at 3. Thank, base Konami or whatever, doesn't matter. Glads aren't gonna do much. But now you can finally build them and feel good about yourself when you drop a Azaris. Not feel desperate. Gores is at 3. Didn't do anything at 2. Funny that's at 3, though. That's a little scary to think about if this was a few years back, but the game's just moving so fast, and there's just so many kind of cards that are so controlling that you can't really risk leaving yourself open for Gores, because it's so easy to get rid of him in main phase 2 with something like a Castel or something that it feels a bit safe. Lonefire Blossom's probably the biggest thing here, the biggest sort of bit of news, maybe besides Spirit. Because, Sylvans and General Plant combo strategy decks, pretty neat. Kind of the reason why Symbol of Heritage had to go to 1. Goyo Guardians at 3. I don't think anyone can even fit 3 copies of this thing in their extra deck. Excuse me. And Heretic Seal of Convocations at 3. Thank God. I mean, with the Dragon Rulers gone, I think it's more than fair. Since so many decks can search now, it's just great. So let's cover a few loose ends. Casper Dragon did not get hit. As you can see, he's still chilling up here, banned. And, yeah, so when will he get unbanned with his new errata? Beats me. Don't quite know why they did it, but I have a hunch. My hunch is that they're using this ban list because the Dragon Rulers got banned. They brought back like Ravine and Convocation, and Dark Matter's just releasing. I feel like they're still a bit unsure of how Dragon decks are going to pan out in the next few months with these changes. So lack of Dragon Rulers, but addition of several sort of new things. I think that they're just unsafe. They're just unsure. They didn't want to risk bringing back Casper Dragon, because these Dark Matter decks can still, use the whole Eclipse Wyvern thing, and Eclipse Wyvern can still search Casper Dragon. I think they just want to see what dragons do, and then maybe they'll consider it. That's my hunch on that. There are a few banned cards I would have liked to obviously see come back, but they didn't. I'm not, this video isn't really for me to, talk about those, but you guys probably know what they are. Another interesting thing is that we didn't, everybody kind of expects this trend of us getting back a power spell every rotation, or kind of rotating a power spell, so people were thinking something like, Heavy Storm or Feather Duster could come back, or maybe we get Pot of Greed, or Card Destruction, or, Brain Control, some Cold Wave, some spell. Didn't happen, so maybe that trend is, I don't want to say over, but since they're erratating ban cards, perhaps that's sort of the replacement trend. Most of these ban cards coming back, I will say, doesn't affect a whole lot. Crush is interesting. The rest seem a little bit gimmicky, so I don't see them making a huge splash. Most won't be staples, really. Rings, probably the closest it'll come to being a staple, in my opinion. By and large, I don't think that this was a bad ban list. I think that Konami has a pretty good idea of what they're doing. They have a pretty good idea of, where their meta is headed and how they want to shape that. I think that by and large, this list corrected more problems than it really creates. And some people are unhappy with, Burning Abyss wasn't hit hard enough. Oh, Necross wasn't hit hard enough. I think that we will find that they were actually hit hard enough, but in due time. The cool thing about this is that a lot of lower tier decks can finally compete now. And I'm not just talking about Glider Beast and, Fire Fist or maybe Erratics. I'm talking, or Sylvans too. I'm talking actually just about the fact that because Skill Drain and Emptiness are gone, you can finally actually play your combo decks a little bit. Will they be top tier? No, they never were going to be. But it's just that, you can actually play, a deck that involves Special Summoning and not just have a Vanities inevitably flipped on you. Or just have Skill Drains just get flipped. Because it was getting silly, when you were just trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And literally these cards would get flipped, and that was just the game. And I think Konami wants to eliminate some of that, where it's just these floodgates that just you don't get to play, and it just kind of zaps the fun out of things really quickly when they get flipped. As opposed to things that are more side deck material, like Imperial Iron Wall is a floodgate, but it's a side deck floodgate. And, not everybody's gonna really be maining that. And, Mistake, they're more side deck material. They're not so debilitating that you just simply cannot do anything. And so it's sensible that they get to stay. But things like Skill Drain, things like Soul Drain, things like Macro Defissure, things like Vanity's Emptiness, it makes more sense. It's a little bit more fair for them for those cards to be a 1. So, I think I've covered everything I'd like to say. If I had to give sort of a final grade, final review for this ban list, I would give it, something like 4 out of 5 stars, 8 or 9 out of 10, maybe like an 8.5. It just did its job. It kind of did what a ban list is meant to do. It just balanced things. I wouldn't say balanced, because balance implies that everything's equal, which obviously it's not. But, it brought everything back down to earth a little bit. The game was getting to this point where we were kind of, it's keeping the game honest. That'll be my quote for this review. This ban list kept Yu-Gi-Oh! Honest. You know what I mean? There's a little bit less cheese. There's a little bit less, less vanities getting flipped all the time, less skill drain stealing games from you, no snatch steal shenanigans, no obnoxious plussing with scout and sacrifice and preparation, and no dark matter, dank matter shenanigans. It's just, just keeping Yu-Gi-Oh! Honest. And so, that's going to pretty much conclude my thoughts on this ban list. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'd love to know what you guys thought about this list. I'm also really pleasantly surprised to hear that so many people were interested in hearing my opinions on this list. That means a lot to me, you guys. So, as you can see, I am up at, let's see what time it is, 1:34 in the morning. Right before this video goes up. So, literally, this video will be up like a few hours after I finish recording it now. But so many people were asking me to do this, so I thought I would share my opinions. I would say it's a pretty good ban list. 4 out of 5. B+, A-, I don't know. Very meaningful ban list. Hit a lot of things. I'm glad we didn't get another conservative ban list like the last few have been, where just barely anything gets hit and things just get crept and the game gets faster and faster. We're just keeping Yu-Gi-Oh! Honest. So I hope you guys liked the video. Remember to leave those comments, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel for more great Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. I'm going to get some sleep. I will catch you guys later. Enjoy April 1st. Bye, guys.